As I look at the needs of a society in terms of job readiness skills, I stand in full support of the move. Be it resolved that the scope of our education is narrower than the needs of our society. I would just like to reiterate on my worthy opponent's statement. Our Caribbean is changing, and we need to widen our education curriculums in order to meet the needs of our society. Its shift has been emerging with a focus on skills development, business and entrepreneurship skills, and personal development skills for employment. In Grenada's case, there is a cause for concern. Grenada currently has the highest skills gap in the hemisphere, estimated at 41%, according to the World Bank report in 2008. Madam Chair, we have seen a great number of students graduating from our secondary schools, and it is very impressive that many continue to excel in the CXC examinations. What are the figures like 10 passes and 10 distinctions and 12 passes and 12 distinctions? It is very impressive, right? Yeah. Congratulations to them for reaching thus far. But how many of these students actually pursue studies at TAMCC? Research has shown that only 787 students would have graduated in TAMCC in 2009, while 1,979 students would have sat CXC examinations for the corresponding period in 2007. How many of these students actually enter the job market? According to the National Insurance Scheme, there is a projected 15% decline in active contribution in 2009. Madam Chair, if the education system has adequately provided for our children, what happened to the others? Did a wave of the magic wand cause them to disappear into thin air? Our Prime Minister, the Honorable Tillman Thomas, in his address to mark the start of the 2009 academic year, made reference to that and other reports and added, as I quote, "Our children lack the technical and personal skills like positive attitudes, team building, communication skills, values, conflict resolution, anger management, and critical thinking. These deficiencies inhibit them from being employed from up to 15 or more months after leaving school." End of quote. This is just sad. Madam Chair, our education system is not taking up the responsibility of molding our youth in preparation for the world of work. Our schools are just a shelter from the heavy rains and floods. And according to James Augustine, the CEO of Ken and Jan Financial Institution in Argentina, and I quote, "Our youth need to meet the criteria for the big work." End of quote. Are the graduates of our secondary schools ready for that big work? Not at all. For as stated by Mr. Colin Francis, motivator trainer and manager of the Job Center in Grenada, of the students who applied through his center, only 20% land jobs, and many of the applicants lack basic job readiness skills. Point of information. Accepted. You stated that everybody will not be ready for the big work, but remember that not everybody will be able to do the big work. Why? So if everybody goes to do the big work, then what will be the fishermen, what will be the teachers, what will be the farmers? That's a good point. I will further elaborate on that in my speech. Madam Chair, let us take a good look at the hotel sector. We would all agree that the food in some of these hotels is superb. But are the top chefs Grenadians? In most of our leading hotels, the top chefs come from other places such as Jamaica and the United Kingdom, as is presently in the case of the Spice Island Beach Resort. Can you believe this? Our education system once again has failed our youth, who would have loved to pursue the culinary arts. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, sorry. Our country is in desperate need of professionals that we cannot find. How many of the TAMCC graduates go on to become doctors or pursue advanced careers in the related subject areas? Check our Ministry of Health. Nurses and doctors have been brought in from Cuba. Cuba! Our chief radiologist hails from India? Remember the oncology saga? No wonder we employ persons who claim to be professionals in certain areas without checking their credentials. This is what our education system has done to us. The desperate time calls for desperate measures. My worthy opponents, our education system is obviously narrower than the needs of our society. What can we do to solve this problem? We need an education reform program. And according to the Honorable Tillman Thomas, and I quote, "The future prosperity and survival of our country and our Caribbean region depends to a large extent upon the quality of our education system, its appropriateness and its suitability to the future job market emerging in the region and in the world." End of quote. We must include in not only 3 secondary schools, but in all secondary schools in Grenada, technical and vocational subjects so that students will be equipped with the necessary skills needed for the survival in the world of work. According to the Honorable Tillman Thomas, the school system must produce children who are better suited to the job market with better technical skills and better personal development skills. Madam Chair, as I was reading the Grenada Informer Grenada newspaper, dated Friday, October 9, 2009, Mr. Colin Dow, who is also in the midst of us, is the head of enrollment and planning manager at St. George's University, refers to education as a cornerstone of enormous achievements in life. Our Minister of Education, Honorable Frank Bernadine, in that same article said, and I quote, "Education is extremely critical towards the building of great societies, which will ultimately reflect growth and development." End of quote. Madam Chair, the sad but truthful fact is that Grenada is not a great society, but we can only become one if we widen our education curriculum. If we do this, no longer will we be referred to as a small island, but as a small island with big brains. I know that you will like that, wouldn't you? Yes. There is so much more to be said. More the opponent, I can just imagine how you felt when you realized you had to be on the opposing team for this debate. We are all a part of the education system, and we all know that its scope is narrower than the needs of our society. However, I do applaud you for your efforts in trying to convince us otherwise, but we all know better. I thank you.